Alright, so this is kind of like a part two. So my last video kind of cut off on the explanation of this thing right here, this setup. Anyways, so I was referring to the only time you usually want to bring back either a ecclesia or a caliga with this sort of setup. There are occasions where you will bring out an Alistair, and the only time you really want to bring out an Alistair is if you have like a super poly or something and you want to set up for a super poly play. You can summon out the Alistair. You have a super poly face down or in your hand. Then you can send an Alistair to the graveyard and a material from your opponents to the graveyard and do super poly that way. So in that kind of break off, when I go into my side deck and I'll kind of explain to you some of my card choices there and take it from there. Um, so what I have is just two Phantasmi dragons. I found it always to be kind of a good card anyways. Not every deck in this format link summons, so I don't think you need to main deck it. It's cool if you do main deck this, is that you can shuffle back like a Dark Magician or some other material that you don't need. You can shuffle those back into the deck, and then you know um, unbrick your hand essentially is what this card does. But sometimes this card in and of itself can be a brick if you're not playing against a link summon deck. So yeah, I'll have to just side it two. You can even side it three if you wanted to. It's a great card, and yeah, not much to say about it. We're gonna play two Lancia, for kind of against the mirror match or cards or decks that like to banish and stuff like that. Yeah, Lancia's a good card, a good hand trap. Also is a light type, helps to feel our graveyard for the Macabres. Overall, pretty good side deck card. Next, we're gonna play one Ghost Ogre. So this is probably gonna change in the next coming format or so with the next release of the um, new set. Um, Ghost Ogre might be main deckable when the new set comes out because there's a lot of the Sword Soul and the new Wind archetype and stuff like that. They need bodies on the board when they activate their effects in order to do linking and stuff like that. So Ghost Ogre might be main deckable, and you can use it to um, better than Ash against some of their plays to kind of interrupt them. So yeah, Ghost Ogre in the future might be main deckable. I only have one of her in my side deck right now. I kind of just toss in there, but um, my deck will probably change in the future, and I might end up main decking these and taking out some other cards that I probably don't need. So there's that. Second is just the Harpy Sweater Duster. I opted to not play any back row removal really in the main deck. Um, for the most part, most decks aren't really playing too much back rolls, but and our deck can still kind of fight against some of them. But yeah, I just opted to side the Harpy's Feather Duster. If you have Lightning Storms or something like that, it's probably better to main deck Lightning Storm or side deck the Lightning Storm. I don't have Lightning Storm, so now just gonna play the good old Harpy's Feather Duster. Next, we're gonna do three Cosmic. Um, this could be any card really, or any backyard. Or sorry, I said backyard, but I meant back field hate. It can be Twin Twisters, it can be Cosmic Cyclone, MST, whatever you have, whatever you like. I guess I prefer Cosmic because there's a couple decks that play that that can recycle some of their continuous traps and continuous spell cards and stuff like that. So you just want to go ahead and hit that card and banish it, make sure they can't recycle it. Also hits cards that have like protection. So some certain decks like with Mystic Minds, they'll try to play like a field barrier or something like that to try to protect the Mystic Mind, and this kind of just um, hits it still and then banishes it rather than destroying. So yeah, just triple Cosmic. Kind of a I guess the only main issue with this is you want to be careful signing this in, especially game three. You have to check how much time you have left on the clock because if you play this and it goes into time, you might just lose because of this. So just be careful a little bit there. You could probably just play the two and play something else instead of the third copy of the Cyclone, just to be on the safe side. because time is kind of important in the game, and you just want to be aware of your life points when playing something like this. Plus Anaconda and a couple other cards that cost life points to play. Next is just Dark Ruler No More. Just a pretty good card. Not much to really say about it. This is you're hoping to go second. You activate this and then you go into Dragoon or something and just break your opponent's board. Something like that. So yeah, Dark Ruler No More, still a pretty good card, and playing 3 of that. Next off is the final card is playing Super Polarization. So our deck, because I'm running the Shadow cards and stuff like that, I don't really have too much space to add in Super Poly targets. Cards that I can Super Poly into effectively. Yeah, I can have Alistair and Super Poly Alistair plus one of their cards and discard a card, but that's kind of like minusing one. It's not that great. Where like if you can activate Super Poly, discard a card, and fuse 2 of their monsters, definitely a lot better. But because we're playing a fusion deck and we're playing most of the I guess the attributes in the game when it comes to our Invoked stuff, Super Poly can still be a pretty good card. It just depends on what matchup you're playing against, and I mean, this card is definitely a lot better in Shadol's. Like Shadol, because all they need is a Shadol card and on their board, and they can fuse with literally anything. Where we're more limited to needing Alistair on the field in order to Super Poly him away, and most of the time we are already Alistair's in our hand. He's not gonna be on the board, or he's gonna be in the graveyard. So that's why opposite is just a side deck the Super Polys. I could probably take out one Super Poly and put in like a fusion card or something. Instead of playing just 3 of these, put in like a Predator Plant or a Venom Dragon, which I'll show you some cards here that you can also play instead. But yeah, just triple super in the side. And let me move this all aside. And so next off, I'm just gonna kind of go over some additional cards you can kind of play depending on what you have. And we'll just finish up there from there. So, like I mentioned before, the old combo used to be the Amirage into the Secure Gardener for your 1 card Macabre, but that's that's kind of like suboptimal nowadays because it takes 2 summons and but the cool thing is I guess you can still have a fire in your graveyard for the Pugger Trio if you really needed it. But oftentimes I find out that I don't really need to summon Pugger Trio, so I'm just going with the Artemis build, and it saves us space in our extra deck for more utility and stuff like that. You can play. I guess here's just I'll kind of put in the package. I used to play the Gamma and Drive Frame Driver package plus this. I mean, Gamma is still a really good card. I found that it's not as good in the build I'm playing now, because if I activate like a Nadir or activate something, or activate if I activate Nadir and or a Red Eyes Fusion, if I hard play Red Eyes Fusion and they ash it, I can't Gamma that ash, just because obviously Red Eyes Fusion, it sets a precedence of when you activate it you cannot summon at all, so you won't be able to negate an ash if if you hard play a Red Eyes Fusion. And on top of that, most of the time we have monsters on the board, so when you're drawing these, they're not going to really be doing anything. You have to wait until they clear your board, or these cards are just going to be kind of dead in your hand. Obviously I wanted to avoid playing more vanilla cards, because I'm already playing 2 2 vanillas, and a third vanilla you're just going to end up bricking more, and these cards can get kind of bricky. But yeah, I mean they're still really good cards. And so I just found out for this particular build I wasn't gonna do that. They're better in my Mech Knight deck because you can bring out the Psyframe Link monster, and then you can banish like a Purple Knight to search one of these while the Psyframe Link monster's on the board. You can then use this while it's in your hand, and you still have a board. So that combo is really well when you have like the Mech Knight or the Psyframe Link monster plus a Mech Knight. You can banish the purple, search this, and kind of cool combo from there. But yeah, this build opt not to do that. Same thing with this card. Like this card's great in the in decks that do play Nadir, because you can send this with Nadir and recycle some cards. You can like recycle a Dragoon if you wanted to, or you can recycle like a Dark Magician or Red Eyes if you discarded them for like a cost or something. You can recycle it, but our extra deck space is kind of tight, and I figured that I'm just gonna try to narrow it down rather than being super universal and try to get value of everything I do. So I opt to cut out the Omega, and definitely Omega is definitely better if you do play this package, the side frame, the driver package. So that's an option if you wanted to do that. Next is Maximus here. So Maximus is another main deck card I did try out, but I found out I wasn't really doing much with him. Obviously, when I summon him, he's mostly just going to be a body as an extender to send to the graveyard for the Predaplant. But getting him out on the board is kind of difficult. Unless you're already playing a deer. But if you're playing a deer and you send something from your extra deck to the graveyard, you're gonna be locked out of your extra deck anyway, so you're not gonna be able to summon him. And when you do summon him, you're not gonna want to activate his effect really. There's not, like I only showed you over there, I only have 3 targets to make use with Maximus, and so he doesn't prove much value in this particular build. He's better in like something like Necros deck where you can activate it, dump like 2 Heralds and +2 off of Maximus, or like a Shaddoll deck where you can summon him, dump like a Winda or an Al Capone and like +2 off of him. But in this deck we can't really plus as hard by summoning him out and pitching him. He does work well with this setup though. If you do summon Alistair and then you send Alistair to the graveyard, summon Amaraj, send Amaraj to the graveyard, goes to Kirigardna. If you have this in your hand, you can banish the Amaraj, summon out the Maximus. So that combo will work, and it will give you 2 bodies here. But unfortunately, you can't even use this guy as a link monster, so it kind of like you're stuck with this kind of weird, awkward setup here. So yeah, that's why I just opt to not even play any Maximus. And against mirror matches and stuff like that, this card is especially bad. Like if you're playing against a mirror match Dogmatika, or you're playing against a Shaddoll, or you're playing against like a ritual deck or something like that, yeah, this guy, you don't want to use his effect at all. And I found him kind of mostly just dead in my hands, so I opt to not play him at all. Next is we have Celine. Celine, it's a cool card. If you need to link climb into something, Celine might be a good choice to link climb into. She just takes a spellcaster and at least 2 monsters, and she's a link 3, so you can easily rank into her. And she can, bring back Ecclesia. She can bring back Alistair. She can even bring back Dragoon if you wanted to. If Dragoon was properly special summoned, you can if Dragoon somehow dies, then you can summon Queen, bring back Dragoon, and do that kind of thing. But I found like most of the time, I'd rather do my grind game a different way, and so I never really found the opportunity to summon out Queen. But if you think you can, then yeah, Queen might be a good card to add to your deck. Next is just another target for Nadir. This card's maybe a little bit better at Entis in some sense, because you can choose when to use his effect. Like Entis, when you activate, or if you kind of send her, then you're gonna need to use her effect. I found that if I'm needing to send Entis, I'm gonna end up using her effect then and there rather than saving it for later. So I didn't find that Skull Fossil Warrior was that handy in this deck. It might be good against it might be good if you do punishments and Fossil Warrior pop a card. Like if your opponent only has 1 monster on the board, and then your turn you can banish him to pop another card. But outside of that, it's kind of like a niche use. So I find that I either send the Entis or don't send her at all. Same thing with the Warrior. So I just chose to play Entis because she can hit back row and field spell and stuff like that. Even though Entis itself doesn't answer Mystic Mine. That's the other thing, is like Mystic Mine just kind of hurts our deck, and it hurts most decks. So, and we don't have any outs to it main deck, so just kind of be careful of that. Next, you can play 1,000 Eyes if you wanted to, or Millennium Eyes. Either way, just a instant fusion target if you want to play it. I opt to not bother because That's his only use, is to be summoned with instant fusion. But I have some other cards I can summon instant fusion and would be just as good anyways. So opted not to play him at all. Next are just some of the other invoked stuff you can play. You can obviously play the water type. You can play Ecclesium or Elysium. This is really good against a mirror match, but I mean, who's really gonna be playing this type of deck anyways most of the time? Yeah, the Earth type, if you're playing against like Tri Brigades or something like that, something earthy, or a rock deck or something, then it'd be good. This is good against like technically pretty good against uh, what's that deck? Sky Strikers, but you're really playing Dragoon, so like, you know, this Dragoon's a million times better than this thing. So, you know, who cares? This is not that great. It's good. I guess it's mediocre against Necros. I mean, they summon out Unicorn. This card's kind of dead on its own, so don't really bother playing water. It's a mediocre effect. Yeah, it's got protection, but you're playing Dragoon, so whatever. And this is just a 3K beater, so I mean, unless you need the body or something that's big to run over stuff. I mean, you're playing Dragoon and you have Alistair to boost your fusions up, so you shouldn't have problems running stuff over. And we're only really playing Pankratops as our only Earth type in our deck, so we're not going to really be summoning this thing either. So yeah, these three potential to be played, but I opt not to play them. And then the last three here are some of your super poly targets. Actually, there's probably one more super poly target I can bring out that might be playable. I think it's this card here. I guess it'd be this. So these are kind of like generic super poly targets. I used to play these two in my main deck, and you know, they're pretty good. The Predator Plant and the Venom, or the Mudrock Dragon, like they're all playable. I found that against certain decks, you know, my super polys were dead. Even when I were playing something like this, if you're not playing a dark deck, then these cards aren't going to be that great at all. This is good against certain decks, you know, like this is good against Dragoon, I guess. Like, most of the time people are gonna end their board with like a Predator Plant and a Dragoon, and then you can just super poly both the Predator Plant and the Dragoon to bring out the Mudrock Dragon. I mean, that's potential there. Yes, Mysterion, same idea. You can super poly away their Dragoons, bring this guy out, and he can't be super poly the way, so he's kind of like an anti super poly target, but his requirements are pretty niche. So yeah, I mean, this might be better in the next coming format when the heroes become a thing. And stuff like that. You can probably play this again. Or, I mean, this is really good against Shaddolls, I guess. If you're playing against Shaddolls, you can easily bring out the Draggle Stapla, whatever you call it. And then just, you know, this is pretty generic, pretty easy, just two dog types. Its effect is kind of mediocre. His effect is a lot better. He's a negation effect, so that's pretty good. But yeah, that's it. Kind of all the cards I have to show you. I don't know if I have anything else, but yeah, hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you guys next time.